We saw Hamas launch 8 rockets into Tel Aviv. This was the first time in months, and it raises concerns that the terror organisation is still capable of long-distance attacks. It prompted an Israeli airstrike into the southern Gaza city of Rafah, which has killed 2 senior Hamas terrorists, and tragically 45 civilians were also killed. Now, let's have a look.
In Rafah, we have already evacuated about 1 million non-involved residents. And despite our best efforts not to harm the non-involved, unfortunately a technical failure happened last night. We're investigating the case. We will present the conclusions because this is our policy.
And that's Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And I'm joined now by Israeli politician Sharren Haskel in Israel. Sharren, thank you for joining us once again. Look, can you tell us how these civilian deaths occurred and what's the latest with the ongoing IDF movement into Rafah?
First of all, it's important to note, Sharri, we've been discussing now for months about an operation in Rafah, trying to get as many civilians away from it. We've warned, we've opened safe crossings for them to actually cross to another area, safe zone. But unfortunately, as Hamas is using them as a human shield, some of them, and many of them actually, decided to actually stay. And so we continue to reiterate and say over and over again, anyone in Rafah needs to go out. There are safe zones, there are safe areas, safe passage where they can actually move into other refugee safe zones and safe area.
Are your reports that the civilians are choosing not to leave, choosing not to evacuate, or is Hamas actually blocking their exit?
So Hamas, in many cases, is actually threatening them and blocking as well. I mean, we've seen them in many occasions shooting with snipers people who are trying to flee from the war area. So it is very, very difficult. Hamas know that they need to be surrounded by children, by women, and they in the hope that that's what's going to save them. And so many operations that were canceled were exactly because of that. But we need to understand, Hamas fired rockets into our main cities, major cities, where thousands could have been injured. And Hamas is firing them from safe zones, from humanitarian areas, from United Nations facilities and schools. This is what it's actually using as military bases to fire those rockets. And so in the video that was published as well, and I've actually sent that to you as well just a few minutes ago, you see the areas of where the event actually happened, okay? And you see a big fire. And then you see a secondary explosion. That secondary explosion was ammunition and rockets that was on a car, delivering them in order to be fired into the state of Israel, into major cities, into children's schools and kindergartens. And so, I mean, in this event, Israel needs to defend itself. It needs to defend its children. And this is a very unfortunate event. And we are trying to avoid as much as possible civilian casualties. But unfortunately, Hamas is actually using them and abusing them.
Yep. Well, very well said. Now, in Australia, we have a national broadcaster funded by the taxpayer. And the ABC has described Hamas's rocket attacks on Tel Aviv just on Sunday night, and this was in a social media post, as a show of resilience. A show of resilience. That's an ABC social media post describing the terrorist group Hamas's attack on Israel just on Sunday night. What's your response to this, Sharren Haskel?
It's heartbreaking. And I think, you know, it's things that it's very difficult to understand. And I'll explain to you why. The war that Israel is fighting right now is not just a war against Hamas. This is a war against Iran. Iran that's trying to push through Hezbollah, radical Islam throughout the world. It's here in Israel. It's in Europe. It's in your home as well, in Australia. You've seen that, you've experienced that. And so we have to fight together radical Islam, what you're seeing, the military training of China, North Korea, Russia, and Iran show how much their appetite has grown because their propaganda works. I mean, those people that you see chanting these things in the streets, like any mean necessary, means that murdering, raping, burning children is somehow can be justified. I mean, this is absolute idiot in the service of radical Islam. And you know what? It's coming to your front door. It's coming to your front door all around the world. And those people who see those useful idiots chanting and demonstrating, for them to push their public opinions and their theories and the ideas of radical Islam, where you can see in the United States the youth trying to somehow feel compassion to Osama bin Laden and actually justifying some of these actions. This is how they are using social media and how they're using the media. There are documents that are showing how the Muslim Brotherhood is trying to infiltrate the discourse of the extreme left. It's been shown in a few United States courts. And you know what? I'm sure some of your intelligence forces are very aware of that and can actually show that in Parliament if there'll be an in-depth discussion about what is happening right now.
Yeah, and there should be, and there isn't. Sharren Haskel, always love having you on the program. You tell it like it is. You are so strong. Thank you very much for joining us.